Hello everyone, I am back with a fragrance review. I'm actually re-reviewing something I have already reviewed, but we are going back 2 years now since I reviewed it. And well, basically I've got better teeth since that review. So no, I'm kidding, I do have better teeth since that review, but my hair in that review looked awesome. So I'm going to link it below. I'm reviewing Portrait of a Lady. So I haven't rewatched the review. I just watched the very beginning of it. I noticed how lovely and curly my hair was. Oh well, it will be curly again soon, hopefully. So Portrait of a Lady is by Frederic Malle. That's the brand. And the perfumer is Dominique Ropion, and of course he is a master perfumer. He is an absolute magician. He did Alien by Mugler. He did my very beloved Iris Shot from Olfactive Studios much more recently, and this is pretty much a superstar in the community. I think everyone knows Portrait of a Lady. But I thought I'd re-review it because I might pick out things now, having known it a lot better, that I didn't pick out back in the day when I first reviewed it. So I'm going to apply it now. We are about 10 o'clock in the morning, 10:30, something like that. And I am about to do so 3 sprays. This stuff is extraordinarily strong. So 3 sprays up here. I'm going to do my wrists off camera, 1 on each wrist. And I'm going on a socially distanced walk with my friend. Pretty cold outside, a bit misty. Perfect weather to wear a beast mode fragrance. And that is definitely a beast mode fragrance. I can smell it in the air. So if you don't know anything about Portrait of a Lady, it's a rose fragrance, rose and patchouli. I can't remember the exact correct listed notes, however I can tell you that it's spicy. I don't know what the spices are, possibly cinnamon, maybe some others as well. It's spicy, it's incensey, it's quite dry, a very heavy amount of rose, possibly geranium, because rose is actually very restricted in fragrances as a natural. So I would suspect, because this is a very strong on the rose, they're probably using geranium and maybe some synthetic rose materials, but whether you're interested in that or not, I don't know. That's just my speculation. Very strong on the rose, dry, spicy, woody, incensey, a bit of vanilla in the dry down. But let's give it another whirl and see if I pick anything else out. Okay, so I am back. I've been wearing the fragrance all day and I thought I would just tell you how I've been getting on with it today. So first of all, let me give you the notes because I don't think I mentioned them all. So the notes are rose, patchouli, incense, benzoin. There's 2 fruity notes. There's raspberry and blackcurrant. I think they just lend it a kind of dark berry edge. So it's like more like the rose and the berries joined together to make a kind of fruity rose accord. And there's sandalwood, musk, I think I mentioned the benzoin. Did I forget anything else? Oh, clove and cinnamon, so 2 spices. So I actually feel when I'm wearing it, because it's so dry and it almost has, the spiciness almost has a savoury element to it, so it feels to me almost a bit like cumin, but it doesn't quite go as far as cumin goes, in that cumin can sometimes smell a bit like curry. And I said in my last review on Portrait of a Lady that I felt like there was cumin in there, and kind of examining it again today, I wouldn't say I think there's definitely cumin in there. It wouldn't surprise me if there was a tiny bit, or it may just be that the spices just kind of go slightly in that direction without going full on, you know, funky kind of cumin curry BO. It doesn't go curry BO, but it almost goes towards curry, if that makes sense. It's a very dry, pretty much all the way through. The fruity rose stuff keeps it from being too dry, but it is really dry. It's one of the driest fragrances I own. Dry fragrances tend not to work for me. They make me feel thirsty all day long, and this does a little bit actually. It does. It's got a lot of dryness to it. The spices feel dry, the woodsy elements. Now it's got a sandalwood note. I don't really pick up on sandalwood, which is usually, or it can be creamy, can be a little bit sweet, but it can sometimes be soapy, can sometimes be spicy, can sometimes be really dry. It depends what kind of sandalwood. I don't really get a sandalwood, I just get a general clean kind of woodsy element in the base. This fragrance is not as beastly as I remember it. So I am still aware of it, you know, 8 hours later. I'm picking it up as I'm breathing in lightly, but this is not the beast that I recall. So I do wonder if there's been some batch variations over the years. It was released in 2010, so it's been out for 11 years now. And I believe people do talk about different formulations, so it's quite possible that different formulations behave in different ways. Now in my last review, I felt like I picked up vanilla. This time around today, I didn't feel like I picked up vanilla. I know there's benzoin in here, which is a slightly vanilla-y resin. So it's quite possible that that's what I was picking up last time. And this time, not so much. So it does feel like there's this dry, woody resins in the base, but I don't pick up specifically an amber accord or a vanilla. Just a little bit of sweetness that comes from resins. It's not a particularly sweet fragrance. The rose and the berries accord is a bit sweet, only in that it smells as sweet as the roses and berries do naturally. It doesn't feel like there's anything extra added to bring any sweetness. So I think if you like a really sweet fragrance, or even a quite sweet fragrance like I do, you might find this not quite sweet enough. To me, I don't love this anymore. I like it a lot, but I feel like it's just a bit too dry for my palate, and I wouldn't mind a bit more sweetness or maybe a slightly richer base. So my tastes have changed somewhat. I feel like it's a cult classic, and I'm keeping it for sure, and I will wear it on occasions. And that's the other thing, it's not the most versatile because it is very big when you first apply it. It's a beast when you first apply it. Even though today's wearing wasn't beastly after the first hour, it's still very, very big for the first hour. So for most people, you wouldn't feel comfortable wearing that in most everyday kind of situations, unless you're a big personality or someone who likes a large perfume that kind of announces you into the room. This certainly does that. If you want an interesting and head-turning scent trail, I would say this really does achieve it. It gently develops. It doesn't really take any big twists and turns. As you wear it, you notice the rose does fade away. The rose isn't prominent all the way through. Maybe for the first 3 or 4 hours is a fairly large part of the perfume, but now into the far dry down, the rose is much, much less noticeable, and the dry woodsiness, the resins are the stronger component. I never really felt that patchouli was that huge in this version either. I did a refresh spray about half an hour here. And I feel like there is an earthiness and there is something that kind of grounds everything, which is probably the patchouli. But I remember the patchouli being bigger when I've worn it before from different decants. So again, I'm wondering, it's either my recollection or batch variation, I'm not sure. So I think if it's something you're interested in, you might want to do research over the various, whether there's been reformulations, etc. You might find that you would prefer one version to another, but that could be a bit of a pain to do. So this version is the current formulation as far as I'm aware. I've had this bottle 2 or 3 years. Mine is a current formulation, and it's certainly strong enough for me, but it's just not the beast that I recall once it's had time to settle. And yeah, that's kind of it really. There's not a great deal to say, despite the fact that there's a fair bit going on in the perfume, and it's very much a statement perfume. It doesn't really have that much about it to really go into too much detail, so I'm going to leave it there. I have enjoyed wearing it and I will be wearing it again, but it's probably the sort of thing I'm only going to wear every few months because it's not an easy grab and go, far from it. It's a statement perfume. I would wear it to a festival, a big outdoor event, something like that, but generally speaking it's not the kind of fragrance I'd wear every day. So that's it then. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in another video.